The Daily Code Snippet. For media files such as audio or video, you would want to add transcripts for accessibility. In addition, for those with auditory impairments, such as being hard of hearing or deafness, we should add captions. Captions can also aid those who are viewing our video in a noisy environment or when audio may be disruptive. And for those for whom the language of the video is not their primary language, a text transcript may be helpful for translation. The track element, an empty element, is added to media elements to specify timed text tracks. There are different types of text tracks: subtitles, captions, descriptions, chapters, and metadata. The track element is used in conjunction with a WebVTT file. A WebVTT file format is a way of writing text files that contain the strings of text called cues, along with the metadata, such as the time at which the text should be displayed. The track element is added after all the source elements within an audio or video element. The kind attribute is used to identify what kind of text track it is. For example, subtitle, caption, etc. The source lang attribute identifies the language of the text track, while the label attribute tells the user the language. Let's look at an example of using a track element in our code. The track element is inserted after two source elements within the video element. And after our track element, the paragraph text tells the user, if neither source is supported, that the browser doesn't support HTML5 video and provides a link for the user to click to access the video instead. For the track element, we use the kind attribute to specify that this track is a subtitle, and we tell the browser where to find the WebVTT file in the source attribute. The language of our text track is actually German by the label, but the browser understands German by the value DE for Deutsch. Adding text tracks to your media will also help with SEO, or search engine optimization. Last week we introduced the concept of a WebVTT file when discussing accessibility for media. Adding captions is a process by which we convert our audio content into text to display it on screen for when sound is muted or for those who are deaf or hard of hearing. The most popular format is the WebVTT file. WebVTT stands for Web Video Text Track. It is compatible with almost all online video players, social media, and video editing software with sidecar captioning. To create a .vtt file, you need a text editor, and you have to type out the captions using a particular format. The document must start with WebVTT at the top, and there must be a blank line between each text block. These text blocks are called cues, and they consist of an optional cue identifier, a timestamp written out in a particular format down to the milliseconds, rounded to 3 digits, and the caption text. Each cue in the VTT file can also include optional settings such as direction to change the styling or placement. These are added to the right of the cue timecode. For example, you can specify alignment of the text, the width of the text area, and add styling such as bold or underline. Once your file is ready, simply export it as a .vtt format. A WebVTT file can now be added as a captions file along with your project on YouTube, Vimeo, social media, or as a sidecar file with editing software such as Premiere Pro. Today we will look at an actual WebVTT file and its formatting. We're doing something a little different for our episode of the Daily Code Snippet. And what we're going to do is take a closer look at the WebVTT file. And so we have a WebVTT file open from yesterday's video in our text editor. I'm on a Macintosh computer, so we're open in text edit. And you can see that this file follows the format that we discussed yesterday, where it has the title of the type of file here right at the top, WebVTT. And you can see that each cue is separated by a required blank line. So this is really important that you have this blank line underneath the WebVTT and between each cue. And so each cue has the optional identifier. It also has a timestamp within this particular format with these arrows in between. And each timestamp goes all the way down to milliseconds, rounded to 3 digits. And in the first caption, you see that the voice is indicated by this V code. So you have an opening tag V, and it says instructor. And if you know the name of the person, you can change that to the name of the person that's speaking. And then it has a closing tag with the /. And if we look down, we see that there's a total of 34 cues. It ends with our presented by Designers Learn Code. You can see that the video length is about 1 minute and 53 seconds and 62 milliseconds. So, and you can see that each caption is short. It's generally a short phrase, and the time stamping will follow. So I thought what would be a good thing to do for you is to actually offer this VTT file as a template that you can have, so that you can apply it to your videos, and all you would need to do really is to change the actual caption phrases and follow this format where you have the blank lines already preset, and you would also need to edit the time stamping. Now, it may be difficult for you to trace it back to the milliseconds, but do your best with this to get the time as accurate as possible. And then you can fill this out for the length of your video, and then you will have and then resave it. Keep this file as a template, and resave it for each of your projects that require a VTT file for accessibility. Now, there are other ways of getting a VTT file that aren't so tedious, and generally they involve using a service. And there are two transcription services that I like to use personally. These are by no means the only transcription services available to you, but these are the ones that I've used with enough frequency that I can say that I would recommend them. And the first transcription service is otter.ai. So otter.ai, as the name implies, is an artificial intelligence that's used to produce transcriptions. And it's fairly accurate. I would say that the output is pretty good, but generally involves a little bit of editing. So, it runs into trouble depending on your voice and accent and how clearly you're speaking, or the person that you're trying to transcribe is speaking. So there are some pitfalls with this method. However, it's close enough that it's a good product to use, because it does have a free option. So we'll take a look at the pricing. So there are different plans, and so it does have this initial free plan, and it gives you a certain amount of minutes for transcription. So you can essentially every month you get an allotted amount of minutes, and so you can upload those videos, and after some time it will send you back a transcription. And it does do the time stamping, but it isn't as accurate, to the millisecond that would necessarily be required for the VTT file. But it would at least give you an idea of the timing. It gives you a relatively good transcript of the text, and you would just need to edit that file to put it into the VTT format, but it would save some of your time because it's automatically writing that text for you out just by listening to your videos. And the second transcription service that I would recommend is rev.com. So rev.com has specifically a caption service. So it's specifically for production of these types of files. There are actually other types of files, but I mainly focused on the VTT file because it's the one that is most compatible, and it is the one that I think that for web that you're for the most part going to be using at this time. Now, things may change in a year or two, the web changes, but for now, WebVTT file will be the go-to for web caption. So if you wanted to do captioning with rev.com, you can see that they have different options here. So they can just do a general transcription, they can do captions, or they can also do foreign subtitling. So we're going to look at the caption option, and you can see that the price isn't terrible. I mean, it's $1.25 for a minute. I mean, my videos are only at most 3 or 4 minutes. The majority of them are only about 2 minutes. So for $2.50, I don't have to create the VTT file myself. I can just pay this service and they'll do it for me. It'll be in the appropriate format. So for a lot of you, this may be a great option if you have this in your budget. And the turnaround time, 24 hours, is pretty good. If your video is very short, like mine are, their turnaround time for my video was only 4 hours. And they'll even have an expedited option for 2 hours, and and that expedited option was only $1 more. So if you really need something done quickly, it's possible, and it's not going to break your budget. So I think this is a great option if you really don't have the time to sit there and try to capture your own video and worry about the time stamping to the millisecond. So, and what they do is, well, the difference between Rev.com and Otter is that Rev actually uses professional transcriptionists. So these are human beings doing the captioning. So that is why their accuracy is much better than the machine, because these are actual people who are trained to do this, and they're taking the time to look at your video, and they can sort out things like accents and different things that may be a little bit difficult for the machine to figure out. So this is a very a service that's used by a lot of big companies. I think they do a great job, and again, they can do captioning for a lot of different platforms. And like I said, these two options are not the only options out there, but you can see here in terms of pricing that they're very competitive as compared to some of the other transcription services. So I think if you have the budget for transcription, this is a great option, and it saves you time, and it's not too crazy expensive. And the other thing that they do when you get your file back is they will, humans can make errors, so you would want to go through your video yourself, and it shows you what the captioning is going to look like, which I think is also a nice option. So you'll be able to play your video with the captions, and you can go in here and edit anything that maybe they missed or didn't quite get right. And so you'll edit anything. I have to say that in the video that I was sent, I didn't notice anything particularly wrong. And then once your file is to your satisfaction, you can then export it into the format that you need. And of course, in our case, we're going to do a .vtt. So they guarantee 99% accuracy. I've kind of found that they are pretty good with that estimate. The transcriptions that I've gotten from Rev.com, I've done much longer videos. I've done some of the course videos that I produce that may be over an hour long with them, and they do a great job. It's much better than the artificial intelligence. It's also much more expensive, but again, trying to do transcription yourself is a bit of a tedious job. So, if you don't have the time to spend to do this yourself, I think a combination of using otter.ai and rev.com are a good option for everyone to use. And this way we can make sure the web is accessible for everyone. We don't want to be excluding people who have disabilities from our content. And it also helps you because, the web, it favors accessibility for all. So your videos will be indexed better if you include your captions, and it will also optimize your video being found in the search engine. So it benefits not only those who are disabled and others who may, for whatever reason, not be watching your video with the sound on, but it also favors you because it helps you to get more of a following, people watching your video. So I think accessibility is an important issue. I tend to talk about it a lot in my videos, and that's because I believe that it is an important thing that we all need to be doing to make the web more accessible to everybody. So again, below the video, this YouTube video of the daily code snippet, I'm going to be providing a link, and if you click on that link, you'll be sent to where you can sign up to get a copy of the template file so that you have it. If you choose to do things manually, I think it'll be a great resource for you to have. Or, you may decide that for future you may just do these two services. So up to you, but I recommend just getting the template file so that you have it. And if you choose to do this yourself later on, it's a resource that you will go back to again and again. Presented by Designers Learn Code.